The observation deck of Research Station Kepler 442 hummed with the quiet efficiency of 100 monitoring systems. Dr. Zalther, a towering Vryn scientist with crystalline skin that refracted the sterile white lights into rainbows, reviewed the data feeds with growing unease. The humans had been an enigma since first contact, soft-bodied, short-lived, yet somehow they'd carved an empire across a dozen star systems, while species twice their age still huddled on their homeworlds. Subject profile loaded, announced the station's AI in its melodious tones. Elizabeth Chen, human female, age 27 standard years. Occupation, colonial xenobiologist. Current assignment, cataloging indigenous fauna on Kepler 44b. Zalther S. Facial crystals. Darkened of Vryn. Expression of concern. The Galactic Council had approved these behavioral studies, but something about testing humans felt inherently dangerous. His research partner, a methodical Zenthari named Kos, disagreed. They're mammals, Kos had said, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. Emotional, irrational. We must understand what makes them so effective. Now, watching Elizabeth's heat signature move through the fabricated habitat, Zalther wondered if effectiveness was something that should remain mysterious. Elizabeth shifted the Vryn infantor, rather, the juvenile specimen they'd told her to observe in her left arm. The creature was surprisingly heavy, its crystalline body warm against her chest. It made soft chiming sounds, and despite being an entirely alien species, something in those sounds triggered every nurturing instinct evolution had hardwired into her brain. "You're okay, little one," she murmured, adjusting her grip. The specimen, she refused to think of it as a test subject, nuzzled against her shoulder. In her right hand, she held a bottle of specialized nutrient solution. The Vryn researchers had been very specific. The feeding must not be interrupted. The liquid was precisely calibrated to the infant's developmental needs, and any spillage would skew their behavioral data. Elizabeth didn't know she was the data. The habitat around her mimicked a Vryn colony world: purple vegetation, high humidity, the air thick with minerals. She'd been here for 3 hours, documenting the infant's responses to human interaction. Standard xenobiology work. Liam's voice crackled through her earpiece. "Lizzie, I'm seeing some weird readings on the perimeter sensors. Might be a malfunction." But the transmission cut off. Elizabeth's pulse quickened. Liam was her partner, in every sense field researcher, boyfriend, and the person who'd taught her that sometimes gut feelings mattered more than data. If Liam thought something was wrong, something was wrong. The infant in her arms chimed louder, sensing her tension. She whispered, bringing the bottle's nipple to its mouth analog. The creature began feeding, its internal lights pulsing with contentment. That's when she heard it, a low, reverberating growl that made her hindbrain scream predator. In the observation deck, chaos erupted. Who authorized releasing the creche into the habitat? Zalther's voice was a crystalline shriek. Kos's translator struggled with his rapid fires. Zenthari, the parameters called for stress testing. We must see how humans respond to actual danger while performing caregiving tasks. You've released an apex predator into an enclosure with an unarmed human holding a child. Not a child, a specimen. And the human requested this assignment. She accepted the risks. Zalther's entire body flashed red. She didn't know the risks included a creature that's killed trained Vryn warriors. Elizabeth saw it emerge from the purple undergrowth. Meters of scaled muscle, 6 legs ending in scythe-like claws. A mouth full of crystalline teeth designed to crack Vryn carapaces like eggshells. A creche. She'd studied them, knew they were critically endangered, knew they were being preserved in isolated habitats. This was no accident. Her mind raced through options. Run. The creche was faster. Climb. Not while holding the infant. Fight. With what? The infant chimed again, oblivious, still feeding. Elizabeth looked down at the small creature in her arms, then at the bottle she held steady at its mouth. Not a drop had spilled. The baby needed to eat. Something older than civilization, older than Tullius, older than fire, activated in Elizabeth's brain. Protect the young. The creche lowered its head, muscles coiling for a pounce. Elizabeth's free hand moved with surprising calm to her belt, finding the geological hammer she used for field samples. 12 inches of titanium alloy, with a pointed pick on one end. Not a weapon. Not designed to be. Would be. She didn't shift the infant. Didn't lower the bottle. Her entire body became a shield, angling herself so the baby was protected by her mass. The creche lunged. What happened next would be analyzed frame by frame. by xenobiologists across the galaxy for decades. Elizabeth sidestepped with millimeters to spare, her boots finding purchase on the moss-covered ground through pure muscle memory. The hammer came up in a tight arc, no wasted movement. No telegraphed strikant caught the Cresh's skull just behind its sensory cluster. The crack echoed through the habitat. The creature's momentum carried it past her, but it was already dying, its neural center destroyed by a strike that combined human leverage, tool use, and the cold precision of a mother bear defending cubs. It collapsed 3 meters away. Elizabeth stood perfectly still, breathing hard, the infant still cradling against her chest, still feeding. The bottle tilted at exactly the right angle. Not a drop spilled. The observation deck was silent. Zalthar's crystals had gone completely clear. Shock. Corsa's eyes were wide, all his limbs frozen mid-gesture. Replayed the last 30 seconds, Zalthar whispered. The hologram showed it again. The calculation in Elizabeth's eyes. The way she'd kept the infant's head stable even as she moved. The strike unrehearsed, untrained, but perfectly executed. The aftermath, where her first action was checking the infant's feeding progress. By the ancient stars, Kos breathed. The threat assessment, the protective positioning, the weapon improvisation, all while maintaining caregiving protocols. How Zalthar's color slowly returned. You wanted to know what makes humans effective. His translator added emotional weight his species rarely showed. They don't choose between protecting and destroying. They do both. Simultaneously. Without conscious thought. On the screens, Liam had breached the habitat door, weapon drawn, face pale with terror. He took in the scene: the dead Cresh, Elizabeth standing calm, the infant in her arms still making contented chimes. Lizzie. Elizabeth looked up at him, and only then did her composure crack. Someone released a Cresh while I was holding a baby. Liam's expression went from fear to fury in a heartbeat. He turned toward the observation cameras, knowing exactly who was watching. This test is over, he said, each word carved from ice, and you're going to answer for this. Dr. Zalthar personally escorted Elizabeth and Liam off Kepler 442. The infant had been returned to its parents, who'd been horrified to learn their child was used as test bait. The Galactic Council had launched an investigation, but as Zalthar watched the human shuttle depart, he couldn't stop thinking about the footage. The bottle, never wavering. The infant, never distressed. The predator, eliminated. Dokos approached, subdued. The council wants our preliminary findings. Zalthar's crystals flickered through a dozen colors before settling on deep blue resolution. Conclusion. Humans possess parallel processing capabilities for threat neutralization and caregiving that exceed all known parameters. Recommendation. Never threaten human young. Corollary. Never threaten anything humans have decided to care for. They don't distinguish. He paused, adding one final note to the report. Additional observation. Subject killed threat, while cradling cub, didn't spill its milk. Suggests this represents fundamental difference in human neural architecture. Further testing inadvisable. Potentially fatal. For researchers,